when I was struggling as a filmmaker, it was because I was doing just like basic videography, which to me meant just capturing what was in front of the camera, right? Not doing a lot to like actually build something amazing. And so, when I was shooting weddings or I was shooting event videos, like that to me was videography. And where my filmmaking actually started really growing was when I started to learn now what I would label cinematography.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sehgal show, where we interview some unstoppable entrepreneurs who are dominating figures in their businesses. And today we have a really special guest, someone who has produced over 500 million videos views online and has been featured in biggest online media outlets like People, Cosmopolitan, Good Morning America, Alan DeGeneres, HuffPost, Mashable, BuzzFeed, and so many more. He's the founder of Cinema Mastery, and his video production agency produces high-end cinematic commercials, ad creatives, and high-performing social media content that helps entrepreneurs, movement builders, leaders, and small businesses that grows through their influence, brand, and business, all through social influence. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Eric Thayne to our show today. Hey,
Hey,
man.
Sahil, thanks for the intro. That was awesome. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. It's a pleasure and honor to have you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
And
you
I must
bet.
say that yeah, your story is really inspiring, bro. I was at FHL last year when you were on the stage, so I listened while being in the audience. That really was inspiring. So many elements you shared about. So I want to hear from you and for our audience as well. How did all this started? Like, when were you bitten by this entrepreneurial bug? Did it start with short form video content, or you were doing something before?
No, not really. So I've been entrepreneurial since I was very young. Always recognized that. I remember being, 10, 11 years old, like really, and just always having these questions of like, how did people produce those products? Or how did like music that I listened to, like how did that come about? Like how did the CDs get made? How did where did that stuff come from? And so I always had those questions. I always was curious about that kind of stuff. I was very creative from a young age. So I started playing the piano when I was about 7 years old. And when I got to be 10, 11 years old, I started making videos, just like in the backyard, making superhero videos with my friends. And, I always had this question in my mind of like, there's all these things that I love to do. I love drawing. I loved making music, making videos, all those kind of things. But I always had this question in my mind, but how can I make money at it? All right. How can I actually like be successful with that? How can I turn that into something that's not just something I love to do, but something that could actually provide a living for me so that I can have a fun life doing what I love to do rather than just like working a job, like, just to make money. And so I started my first business when I was 13 years old. I got into graphic design. I was designing t-shirt designs for Screamo bands on MySpace. Okay. So if you remember MySpace, I was on there like creating these designs that they would put on their MySpace profile. And then sometimes they would put them on t-shirts and doing all that kind of stuff. And that eventually transitioned from graphic design into web design and web development and iPhone app development, got into branding, started, doing, I went to graphic design school. So I was doing a lot of logos and print design, web design, and then ultimately kind of transitioned back into music and started making music videos on YouTube and grew that up, and then got really interested in the video side of it again and then started making videos. And it just kind of was always, from thing to thing, going from music to video to design to branding to building this all up, and then eventually started a video production company, then built an online course teaching other filmmakers how to do it, and then got back into production and creating social media content for people. And so just kind of hop between different things, but it was always this theme of what do I love to do, and then how do I make money doing that thing? Because like from a young age, I just never wanted to have a job or like have somebody else tell me what to do. Maybe I'm a rebel in that way, but like I had, one or two very small part-time jobs growing up. And, even though the requirement was like I needed to be there, 4 hours a week or something like that, like I didn't like that. I didn't like somebody else telling me where I had to be and when and what I had to do. It just never really worked for me. And so like I think I knew from a young age that I was going to be doing things on my own. I was going to build my own thing and try to make it happen. But it was always around creativity and art, design, branding, music, video. And so what I'm doing now with my brand and helping people to build their own businesses based on their passions and what they're interested in, and grow an audience online, and create content, and scale their business. It really is like the culmination of all the things that I've done throughout my life since I was 6 years old up
Right.
until now all coming together into very much I see it as like the personal brand of who is Eric. Who am I? What do I do? What am I good at? What do I have experience doing? And how can I help other people to do the same thing?
That's awesome, man. Amazing. And to understand the time frame, when exactly this whole short form video content came into the picture? Which year was it?
Yeah, so that was like we're coming up on like 3 years now, 3 years ago. So that would have been 2021 probably
Mm.
was when, right, was when that started to take off. Um, and the reason that happened was because, I had built a big filmmaking community online. And so I had this program called Cinema Mastery. I was running that for 7 years, teaching filmmakers how to create cinematic looking videos, how to get clients, how to get paid for their work. And, it was a great thing. We built that community up to over 15,000 paying customers in 100 countries around the world, and did all this stuff. But it was primarily built on Facebook ads, right? So my very first mentor in the online space taught me how to run ads, and then get people to watch a VSL, and then book a call, and then get on the phone with me, and then sell them into a program. And I did that for a long time, and it worked, and it was great. But if you remember sometime around like, well, it would have been like in 2021 was when that happened, when there was a moment where Apple and Facebook had a little bit of
Right, right.
a little bit of a fight because
Okay.
Apple put these notifications on everybody's phones that said, "Do you want to allow this app to track you?" Okay, you
Right.
guys that are listening, you've probably seen that notification. What you may not know is that that little notification actually cost Facebook $12 billion, because
Mm.
Facebook's business, their entire business is built off of being able to track people and gather information about them so that they can serve ads to them
Right.
from small businesses. And I was one of those businesses that was running ads to people in order to make it happen. And when your business is built entirely on Facebook's business, and Facebook's business goes down, what happens? You go down with it.
Right.
And there was a time there in end of 2020, 2021, when Facebook ad costs skyrocketed. Like, they went way
Mm.
up, and, at least for me, like, it just became unsustainable. We got to the point where we were paying sometimes as much as $3,000 just to book a call with somebody,
Wow.
which is not good. And our profitability just decreased. We ended up losing a ton of money. We were, I had a new sales team, and I was trying to train them and get them, you can't train a sales team if you don't have leads coming in the door. And so I was like trying to figure out anything I could do to bring people in. We're spending more and more money. And ultimately what ended up happening is our bank account just started dropping like crazy,
Mm.
from literally making millions of dollars in revenue to hundreds of thousands in debt. And it all happened very fast and was very unpredictable. And that was the moment when it just hit a point where I was gone. I was like, I didn't know what to do. Like, the business had crashed. Like, my family was feeling the results of that. I was feeling the results of it. I was feeling anxious and depressed, and just struggling in a lot of areas of my life. And that was when I started to really think about, like, oh, I've got to rethink things. I've got to figure out another way to get people into my business that doesn't cost me, as much as $50,000 a month, which is we were
Right.
spending sometimes on ads. And that was when I made the decision that I was going to go all in. I was actually going to shut off my Facebook ads, my
Right.
entire source of business that was keeping me and my team and my family alive. And I was going to go all in on creating short form videos on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. I'd seen people making some videos like these talking heads and talking about stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna jump on that. I'm gonna try it. I didn't know if it was gonna work. And that was kind of the defining moment when I went all in on that and turned off my Facebook ads, and I started making videos every single day.
That's amazing. And you grew it all organic after that.
Mhm.
I remember, I think, your course, I saw that in 2021, 2022, and I sent the, interesting enough, I was looking at my chats with my cousin. Actually, I was recommending him some video editing course and all that. I found that I sent your link actually to him in 2021. I was like, go buy this course. This guy is
Oh,
all
really?
over the YouTube and all over the Facebook. So and even I, this copy, I don't know, of book,
Mm,
I gave it one to him. So he has the skills of video editing, and he was asking me how can I make money online. I was like, read this book. This guy has put some heart into it, and I was reading it as well. Amazing, man. This thing
I love
itself.
that.
How did you come up with this title? I'm curious. Create, don't capture. What's the story
Well,
behind it?
yeah, it talks about it in the first chapter of the book,
Yeah.
and the book's not out yet for anybody that's wondering, but it will be coming soon. If anybody wants to join the wait list, you can go to createdontcapture.com. But the purpose of that, it actually came from my filmmaking days because I always had this like perception of the difference between what I called the difference between cinematography and videography.
Mm.
And, to me, it was like when I was struggling as a filmmaker, it was because I was doing just like basic videography, which to me meant just capturing what was in front of the camera, right? Not doing a lot to like actually build something amazing. And so, when I was shooting weddings or I was shooting event videos, like that to me was videography. And where my filmmaking actually started really growing was when I started to learn now what I would label cinematography, which is really where you're actually putting a lot of intention into the lighting and the angle and the mood and the actors and there's a lot more thought that goes into the shot versus I'm just going to turn my camera on and capture what's happening in front of me. And and so when I was teaching filmmakers, I started teaching them this principle that a videographer captures the world as it is, but a
Mm.
cinematographer creates a world. And what that became was for filmmakers was this kind of principle that you should always focus on creating, on really like putting intention behind your work into what you're doing versus just capturing what's happening in front of you. And then over time, I started to realize that that was not just a principle that applies to filmmakers, but it applies to everybody in their entire life. Like if you want to be successful, if you want to build a fulfilling, meaningful, impactful life, it's about creating that life, not just capturing. To me, creating is producing, it's providing value, it's putting yourself in the world, it's taking what you love and your passions and putting them out there and inspiring people with them versus capturing, which is just kind of like operating from a consumer mindset and a victim mentality and like life is just the way it is and I have to just accept it the way it is.
Mm.
And to me, that was the difference was, wow, if I could approach my life from a standpoint of creating, not capturing, then I could put myself in a much better position. And certainly when it comes to content creation, it's the same thing. I think the main reason why most entrepreneurs fail with their content is because they're doing what I call capturing. It's
Right.
just, you know what, there's a lot of people doing this and I'm supposed to be doing it as well. So I'm just going to go copy what other people are doing and I'm just going to put it out there and make it happen. Versus I'm actually going to put intention into building an audience and building a community, making high quality content that really shares my thoughts and my values and my morals with the world and how I'm able to like project myself in a way and build a personal brand that helps other people, that inspires other people. See, like those are two
Mm.
different things. Okay.
Right. Right.
Creating and being a creator versus just I just make content because somebody said that it's a good idea. And so I'm just doing it on the side. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. I related to that when you even mentioned about that, uh, um, cropping the videos out of that, trimming the videos out of Zoom sessions or pre-recorded other sessions, and then you are just putting it out there for the sake of creating it. As you said, it's not about
Mhm.
specifically sitting and making dedicated content. That was a hit for me as well personally. That's what we were doing, and I was like, okay, that's the reason it's not growing to the level as it could have grown, because we are
Mm.
just repurposing what was already there, not putting it all there first, just like you mentioned, to
Yeah.
grow it to the level.
And I do think that like repurposing has its place in a good content strategy. When it comes to creating consistent content, we do some repurposing as well. Like it's a good idea. But if that's
Mm.
all you're doing,
Right.
then what happens is then it just comes across as like low effort to your
Right.
audience. It's just like this person isn't trying. They're not really making an effort to build a relationship with me. They're just kind of like copying pasting stuff onto an
Mm.
account and they're probably not even there and they're probably not even responding to the comments, which that's stuff that people care about today. Like if you really want
Right.
to build a community, if you really want to build influence and authority with a group of people, they have to be able to trust you. Like,
Mm,
trust is the backbone of your entire content strategy. And so you have to think about, what would I need to do in order to build connection, to build trust with these people? And a big part of building trust with somebody is like actually being there for them. Like,
right.
how many best friends do you have that are like only there for you some of the time, right? Or only
Mm,
like kind of try to put into your relationship, right? It doesn't really work. And so when
right.
you think about it, the human psychology of content, it's not just about like, oh, I put a video up every day, so where's my followers? Where's my leads? It's more like, are you actually building a relationship with those followers? Are you building
Right.
connection with them? Are you building trust? Are you showing up and putting forth the effort to provide value to them, to be a leader to them, to where they can trust you and they can go, I
Mm,
really like this guy or gal. I really want to follow them because of the trust that I have in them. And that is ultimately when you can really tap into that. That's when you start to see your audience will grow,
right.
and your, not just your audience, but the people will be more likely to move into your products and services as well. Because for somebody to follow you is one thing, but for
Mm,
them to part with their money for one of your products or services, that requires a higher level of trust. And so
right.
when it comes down to it, your content, really the goal of all of it is to build trust, to build connection with people, with
Mm,
real humans, right? Don't get so caught up in the numbers, but like understand that there are people behind every single one of those numbers. And the more that you build connection with those people, and the more that you build trust with them, the better your life is going to grow, your better your audience is going to grow, and the better your business will grow.
right. Right. That's so thoughtful, man. I love that. In that, I have a follow up question coming. So it's,
Sure.
we talk about aesthetics, we talk about value as well, or going raw, if I say that. How do you see it as, or how do you weigh it as? Aesthetics matter more than if you producing just like, as compared to rawness, or as compared to value is better more than aesthetic, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you weigh that as?
So it's a great question, and I get asked a question a lot. Like, does the video quality matter,
Right.
or what matters for making, these videos? If you look at my videos, you'll see like there's a lot of like lighting and production put into them, and the reality is that I'm a filmmaker, right? I
Mhm.
enjoy this stuff. I actually like making things look nice. But certainly, you look at somebody like Gary Vee, or oftentimes like Alex Hormozy, like their videos don't like it's like shot on a phone and they're just like walking around, right? It doesn't have to be like totally high quality. And when it comes down to it, the quality of the video doesn't really matter, or like the production that goes into it. Okay. What really matters, what I always say, is the content of the content, right? Which means
Mm,
that what is happening behind the scenes? Who are you? Are you credible? Are you interesting? Have you done amazing things? Do you have unique, interesting things to say? Are you able to present those ideas in an interesting way? Right? Do you have good stories? Do you have interesting things to talk about? Like, that's really, at the end of the day, that's what people care about. That's what
mm,
makes good content. Now, you can do good content with high production, or you can do good content with low production. Both are going to work great. But you can't do bad content with high production or low production. It's not going to work.
right.
So I think the mistake that a lot of people make is when they say, people say like, oh, you need to be real and raw and natural on camera. People use that as an excuse to create low quality content, right?
Mm,
Oh, I can just like do this off the cuff with no planning and no thought got into it and whatever, because I'm making it raw, right?
right.
And what ends up happening is that it doesn't perform, it doesn't work. And
Right.
so it's not the video quality that causes content to work. It's the quality of the effort put into actually producing something that people want to watch, whether you're
Mm,
shooting on an iPhone or on an expensive camera. And so at the end of the day, the video quality isn't what causes that. It's the content of the content. The video
mhm,
quality, where its place is in branding, right?
right.
How do you want to be perceived? Okay. If you want to be perceived as like teenager on TikTok, selfie style on their phone, making videos, then go that direction. Use the low quality video. Like, you're going to appeal to that crowd. In fact, in a lot of ways, that's Gary Vee's strategy, right? He does kind of a lot more of that like social media-esque influencer type content, because he's trying to appeal to younger generations and Gen Z and millennials and everything.
Right.
And so that's his strategy, right? But
Mm.
maybe you're an entrepreneur who wants to look like somebody, not look like, but actually be seen as the authority that you are,
Mm.
the powerhouse that you are, somebody who's knowledgeable, who's a thought leader in your space, who has their act together, who has a team, who's like successful. Maybe that look doesn't really work for you, right?
Right.
Maybe for a lot of the people like that, if you're just shooting like selfie style videos on your phone and they're low quality, you're probably making yourself look smaller than you really are. And
Mm.
so in that case, that's where the video quality comes in. Like having high quality video does, in people's minds, present you as someone who is more authoritative, more has their act together, has some things going on, right?
Right.
And I think that's really important, is really deciding that, like, what feels natural to you, what feels native to you, what is the brand that you're trying to build.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, once you get that right, then what's really the most important is, like I talked about, the content of the content. It's
Right.
Is it actually interesting? Is it actually something that people would wanna watch? And at the end of the day, you can produce a high quality video with high production, and you can have very raw delivery of
Mm.
the content. And that's kind of, for me, that's the balance that I try to strike, right? I want the
Right.
lighting to look nice, I wanna look professional, I wanna look really good, but then I try to present the information in a way that's real and is me. There's a little bit of humor in it, it's natural, it's just me talking to the camera. And that ultimately strikes that balance where people feel like, "Oh, this is somebody who understands what they're doing, who's professional, who's not new at this, but also
Right.
somebody that I can relate to, that I can feel like is my friend, that I can build a relationship with, so that we're actually building that connection like we talked about."
Absolutely. I think you mentioned about in the book itself about Ellen Wilder's story, like exactly the same thing, what
Mhm,
it was when she is an authoritative figure and she was trying to record it. Sometimes the naturalism or the that thing, you always have shine and camera awkwardness and all, and how you cover that up. So
mhm.
I really love that part. I'm gonna recommend this book. It's like I read what 50 pages of it so far. Amazing, man. What you have wrote over here. I have
Love that.
another interesting question coming. So it's like you have done, yeah, a couple of minutes ago you mentioned about YouTube as well. You got good subscribers over there when you were doing music and all. So uh, it's more of a selfish question for me as well. We are trying to go heavy in the content on either IG on YouTube, and I was like little into the dilemma phase where should I pick up YouTube, start with the long form content, focus on that, or I should I do go on the IG, focus on short form content? What would you say? What would you suggest? The goal is
Mm.
again to grow the brand, to grow awareness, to get more leads, more clients at the same time. So, yeah, what would you
Yeah, there
recommend?
actually was a report released recently from HubSpot. Every year they release like a social media trends report, and it showed that from 2023 to 2024, YouTube actually had a huge increase in ROI and like effectiveness and growth among creators in terms of popularity. And so it is something that's like, it's a force to be reckoned with. And so YouTube's amazing. The funny thing is, like, people get so caught up on like which one is working and which one is the most important, and whatever. The reality is, like, let me just put everybody's fears to rest. It all works. It's all good. People have been saying that YouTube is dying, or YouTube is back, or YouTube's the new thing, or YouTube's not hot anymore for as long as I've been in this game. And that's over a decade, right? I mean, I remember when YouTube was brand new. I remember when YouTube was not owned by Google. Some
Hmm.
people watching this probably don't even know that that was actually the case originally, that Google actually bought YouTube. Okay. I remember using YouTube before it was owned by Google. Okay. From the very beginning, there's always been that conversation of this is hot now or this is not or whatever. It's just like this back and forth. And the reality is, the people who have been successful are not the ones that got the hot platform. They're the ones who have been making content every day or consistently on one platform for the last 10 years. Okay. And
Hmm.
honestly, in today's day and age, it's not even 10 years. It's the last 2 years, the last 3 years. Right.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, it's really more about looking at what type of content do you like to create, what type of content do you like to consume, and
Hmm.
what platform has the audience that you're trying to target. And if you can marry those three things and choose a
Right.
platform, something that you know that you can start now and you can be consistent with long term, then you've got a winning strategy. Now, in
Right.
terms of like pros and cons for YouTube versus Instagram, one of the big advantages of YouTube is that content tends to have a longer shelf life. on YouTube.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
if you create a video for Instagram, it lasts like 3 days. A good video might last like a week or two. And then usually the videos kind of fall off from there. And
Mm,
so the strategy is a little bit different, where with YouTube, you're creating more like SEO based content, stuff that people are going to be searching for a long time down the road, which when it comes to efficiency, that's a really nice advantage, right? You know that you can create something now that's going to continue working for you long term.
right.
Whereas, it might be like a kind of a slower burn. Whereas
Mm,
with Instagram, with TikTok, those kind of platforms, what I found is that you can put effort into a piece of content and you can get like a ton of views right away, right?
right.
And so a lot of times, a really good strategy is going to include both. I take my shorts and I put them on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So I
Mm,
make sure I'm across all platforms. Right now, I'm trying to figure out a new like long form strategy. I've been a little bit sporadic with long form, but I think long form is really valuable, sharing like podcasts or interviews or you actually spending 20, 30 minutes, an hour even, like teaching on a topic. That kind of
right.
content can do really well and find you lots of good customers. But there's just pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages to the different
Mm,
platforms. At the
right.
end of the day, though, the thing that matters and the people who are going to be most successful are the ones who create content consistently over a long period of time. It's like, just commit
Right.
right now that, like, I'm a creator. I'm going to do this. I want to be relevant in today's day and age.
Hmm.
Therefore, I must be creating content. Otherwise, nobody in the world knows who I am. And
Yeah.
so, if I want people to know who I am, I've got to be creating content. I've got to do it consistently. This is now a very important, crucial, essential part of my business. And I'm going to do it from now until forever. Right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's no time frame on it to me. It's just, this is what I do now. And if I can tap into that and be super hyper consistent with it and continually make my content better and better and better over time, then like there's no way I will not be successful with it. It's
Right.
the same thing with entrepreneurship. They say the only way to fail as an entrepreneur is to quit,
Is
is to
to quit.
stop.
Yep. Right.
If you commit to just being consistent with it and doing it over a long term, anything in life really, you're going to find success at some point.
Right. So name of the game is consistency.
Yep.
Cutting in short. Amazing,
Yep.
man. So you have worked with, you have spent a lot of time in short form content as well. What have you seen is like any best way to monetize, like with a small audience, rather than getting viral and playing with a broader audience? What have you seen working in terms of short form content with a small audience, but you want to monetize it?
Yeah. So I would say two things that are really important.
Sure.
Number one is really understanding that there are humans behind the numbers. Okay.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing that people forget. And when they have small accounts, they try to act like they're a big account. Okay. If you have
Mm,
a small following and you're acting like you have a big following, it's going to be weird. And what
mm,
I mean by that is like, oh, I got, I had 10 people that liked my post and I had 3 people comment. And you see people that create content like that, but then they're like not in there responding to the comments. They're
mm,
not in there, like, DMing those people, having conversations with them. When you have a small following, you have an opportunity to do the unscalable, to do the things that you can't do when you have 1,000,000 followers or 100,000 followers, like actually talking to every single person that engages with your stuff. So a lot of times we get into this, like,
right.
this false perception of what the numbers mean when we say like, oh, 100 people, I only got 100 views on my video. But like, if you imagined 100 people in a room listening to you teach your stuff, that's pretty significant. That's a lot of people. Most people can't get that many people in a room, and yet we get it on social media and we scoff at it, right?
Right.
So the question is, well, what would happen if you took those 100 people that viewed your video, or that the 100 people that liked your video, and you sent a private message to every single one of them? And you just checked in and said, "Hey, I saw you liked my video. I just wanted to say, hey, I appreciate you watching and supporting me on this journey. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know." Like, they're gonna be amazed
Wow.
that you were willing to do that. And now you can have a conversation with them. You can ask them, like, what are you working on? What are you building? What are you struggling with? And if there's an opportunity to help them, then like, oh, actually, I have something where I could help you with that exact thing. Would you like to hop on a call at some point and we could talk through it? Yeah, let's hop on a call. This is how I started making money from content. This is not the part that I talk about as much, but like I talk about like the first couple months where things weren't going really well and it was really hard at the content. The reality is when I started creating content, I made $30,000 in my first 2 months. And the way
Mm.
that I did it was by having a conversation with every single person that engaged with my content, whether they liked it or commented it. I sent them a DM and I started a conversation with them. Every single person. And I would do that over and over and over and over again. I would have these conversations with people. I ended up booking calls with people. So I was on 20 to 30 sales calls every single week with people that were interested in my services. And then that was how I made $30,000, right? Selling a program that would help them out. And so that's the main thing is like, if you're just starting out and you have a small account, really hone in on every single human behind the numbers. Get to know those people, like really build connection with those people. Cause that's like when you have thousands of people that start liking your stuff, that gets harder to do, right?
Right.
That's not as easy. Okay. So that's the main thing that I would focus on for smaller accounts. The second
Uh,
thing that I'll just throw in on the side here is don't ever assume that because your account is small that you can't get tons of reach, that you can't get
mm,
make things happen. And the reason why I say this is because the algorithms are such now that they don't necessarily prioritize somebody who has a big following. What they do is
mm,
every piece of content is becoming more and more so this way. Every piece of content has a chance to perform, to get in front of an audience, to go viral, to perform well in the algorithm. Every piece of content, even if you have a small account. So when you're creating content, especially starting out, be thinking about speaking to a broad audience. Try to speak
mm.
to the whole world, not just your target market, because the more you can get more of those people, even if they're not your ideal customer or target market, the people who are not your ideal customer are doing the work of spreading your content to the people who are. And that's a major, major strategy when you're starting out is really thinking broad with your content.
Right on, man. You gave a mic drop. This thing. So very big gold nugget out there for people. The smaller audience, you still can monetize it, and we most of the time undervalue it. We're like, okay, I only have 1,000 followers, but like 1,000 people sitting in the room. If you imagine, and you're addressing them, talking to them, booking 20 to 30 sales calls is not a big thing. Oh man, that's
Crazy.
amazing. That's a big gold
Yep.
nugget out there. Love it. Interesting question. So you have worked with all the big sharks out there, like Russell Brunson, Eileen Wilder, all these big names. What's your how can we help our audience? Let's say somebody is producing content, short form content or long form content, and if they want to land into the doors of these big sharks, what's the best advice we can give to this our audience about that? About working with them, building connections, and then leverage it.
Yeah, I mean the interesting thing about social networking is there's a reason it's called that. It's networking. It's talking to people. It's like, are you DMing people? Are you connecting with them? And this is what I always tell people is like you have to don't forget the networking part of social networking. A lot of people want to just like create content and put it out there and then do nothing else with it. When the reality is the most of your value, especially if you have a small account, most of your value is going to come from you commenting on other people's stuff, engaging with other people, send 20 to 30 DMs a day to people and just chill, casual. Like, hey, I found your account. I love what you're doing. Super cool. Glad to connect with you. Awesome. Like you're not trying to get anything from them. And that is the same principle with social media as it is with real life, we'll say, all right? Is that like the way to build relationships with people is not by constantly wanting something from them, right?
Mhm,
In fact, it's
mhm,
the opposite. It's constantly giving to them. And the way that I was able to achieve those relationships was not because I started pinging them every single day and seeing if like, hey, will you hire me or will you invite me to speak on this stage or whatever, like anything like that. I got into the communities where those people are and I started serving. I started giving value for how many years? Like 4, 5, 6 years. I was in like ClickFunnels communities and their coaching programs in the inner circle in all these programs. And I didn't have a product to sell to those people. Right? I
mhm,
had nothing for them. I was teaching filmmakers, right? And so that wasn't my audience. So I was in there for years just building relationships with people and not business relationships, friendships, right? Those are all my best friends now. And so we have all these great relationships and providing value and teaching them what I was doing. Here's what I did to be successful. You should try this. And we're all helping each other out with stuff like that. And then built those relationships. so that when, 6, 7 years down the road, when the time came where I did have an offer or a way that I could serve them, guess what? They were all calling me saying, "Hey, I want that. Can you help me with that?" Right? Because like we talked about
Right.
earlier, it's trust. Okay? That is deep trust that comes, even deeper than what you can get from social media
Right.
by being in the room with people, by being in masterminds and in their programs. And did that require a high level of investment, both financially and time wise, into those things? Yeah, absolutely. We put a lot into that over years of connecting with those people. But at the end of the day, when you're done, when you do have something or when you need something after 6 years of giving value, when you go, hey, I need help, or hey, I have something for you that again is honestly just more value. I can do
Right.
this for you. I can provide this for you. I can help you with this. Now you got people lining up out the door in order to work with you because of that trust that you've built.
Right. That I can relate it to you, man, really well. Sometimes I feel like I go into these masterminds and all, and I'm like, I'm into coaching. All these big giants, they don't need coaching from me. Or how can I serve? And it's like you give me a great pointer here. It's a time thing. You gotta wait for that right time, but connections that you build, the relationships that you build, it takes you a long way. It's not just that 6 months coaching or 1 year coaching program. You know what I mean? Amazing, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you
And I
don't you
know,
don't build the relationship with an expectation of what's going to come
right,
from it. You build
right,
it out of just wanting to like be friends with the person,
right,
wanting to provide value. Just like I didn't have an expectation. It just so happened that when things change down the road, then now I had an opportunity to help these people and do it
right.
in a way where they're paying me for it. So but that was never the goal. That was never
Yeah,
the expectation. It's just like I build relationships with people because I want to have friends and I want to be
right,
surrounded by people who have the same values as me. And I know that at some point I probably will have something that I need from them and I'll be able
right.
to ask them, but I don't know what that is. I don't know when that'll happen or if it'll ever happen. And so I'm not doing
Yeah.
it in order for that to happen, but knowing that probably will happen. And when it does, then it'll be really valuable to me.
So right, man. So right. Amazing. I know we are short on time, and thank you so much for this time and dropping so many gold nuggets that you did. Where can listeners find more about you online? Where do you want to direct them from here?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on any platform at Eric Thayne, EricThayne. Instagram is my main platform, so I'm there most of the time, but I'm also on TikTok and YouTube as well. So you can find me there, and then yeah, we can chat, hang out, shoot me a DM. Like let's get to know each other.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be dropping all the links in the show notes and the waiting list for this book as well, right? So that is
Yeah. So if
coming.
you want
Which
to get
month
on
is
the
it
wait
coming?
list,
Curious.
yeah, so it's gonna be out in a few months. I haven't officially announced it yet, but it's coming. It'll be, it's create.don't capture.com, and you can get on the wait list there, and I'll let you know when, everything's happening.
Amazing. Yes, and there is a one framework, 60-second framework, something you made 60 seconds. I think it's available on your website. I downloaded it, the book as well. So yeah, I'm gonna be dropping all those links under the show notes. Thank you so much, Eric, for being on the show, and you have been
You bet.
gracious with the time, man. Yeah, thank you
Thanks for
so much.
having me. Awesome. Appreciate you.
All the people who are watching, listening, will be coming up with another episode very soon. Till then, stay tuned.